Are you looking to get on the road to your dream career? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Mentor Select Podcast with your host, Derek Phillips. Always stay up to date on social media at Mentor Select and online at mentorselect.com. Here's your host of the Mentor Select Podcast, Derek Phillips.
Welcome to episode 32 of the Mentor Select Podcast. It's always a pleasure to have you join us. I hope your March is off to a good start. Here in Dallas, it's been pretty cold this past week. We actually are down to 19 degrees today. We're supposed to get some snow flurries tomorrow. Yeah, this isn't cool. Our winter has been pretty moderate, but seems like right before spring, Texas wants to give us some crazy weather. I certainly didn't move to Dallas to get any snow or teen temperatures, but it's all good. It could always be worse. I could be in Indiana in blizzard, so I'm not complaining. This week has been pretty productive for me, really more so this past month. I've just been finishing up all my marketing materials and my speaker video reel, just everything that comes along with promoting myself as a motivational speaker, trainer, all of that good stuff. So definitely stay tuned. I have some exciting things on the horizon that I'll be sharing with you all very soon. Also continue to support the Mentor Select Podcast. Share, like, subscribe on whatever platform you're listening. And just let your friends and family know that there is high quality virtual mentorship available through the Mentor Select Podcast. And I'm certainly enjoying doing this. And I truly am thankful to all of the guest mentors who volunteer their time to give us mentorship, which is fantastic. So today is a great episode because we have Tennille Brown, who is a school counselor, and she's coming to us all the way from China. Yeah, she works abroad at a school in China, and she's going to share with us just her journey that took her from Dallas to China and how she's enjoying the experience. She's going to share her culture shock, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I think you all will be pretty inspired by the end of the interview, certainly. And she gives a lot of good advice in terms of dealing with any parenting issues you may be encountering, and just really help guide your kids on the right direction and give them the best tools and resources in order to maximize any opportunities they're given. This was a fun interview. She had me laughing and just had me taking notes all at the same time. So she's a very vibrant young lady. Let's get to it. Okay, we have Tennille on the Mentor Select Podcast today, and she's joining us all the way from China. Welcome, Tennille.
Hi, thank you.
Wow, so China, that is pretty incredible. So looking forward to finding some more out about China. I plan on visiting one day.
Okay, cool. Yeah, very interesting place.
All right, Tennille. So on the Mentor Select Podcast, we always like to get to know our mentors a little better. Do you mind telling us something that most people don't know about you?
I'm actually sort of introverted, and a lot of people think that I'm like super social because I'm usually like talking to people. Hello, hey, how you doing? I'll talk to a stranger. However, I don't like crowds.
Okay.
And I'm a little introverted, and people they don't believe it. They don't see it. But I do like, I'm one of those people. I love socializing and I love people. However, at times it can become a little overwhelming. So I have to retreat, go back in, kind of get myself together, and then I can go back and be social again. So that's one thing people don't know about me.
Okay, so it sounds like it's kind of like a hybrid between introvert and extrovert.
Yeah, right. It's a hybrid. Okay, yeah.
I certainly can relate. As a kid, I was really shy and introvert. But now I'm the opposite. I've transformed. But that's cool.
Yeah,
certainly,
I totally understand.
Yeah, and your voice, your energy you sound like more of like an extrovert. So.
Yeah, that's what I get. I get that all the time. You sound just like everybody else. That's what everybody says. It's like, you sound like an extrovert. You sound like no.
All right, so
I need my time.
Now we know. Okay, so Tennille, you're joining us from China. What brought you there? Or what took you there?
Well, just to tell you a bit about what I do, I'm a school counselor.
Okay.
And I absolutely love what I do. Like, it's crazy, like how I love my job.
Wow.
And I felt like I was getting to a place in my career where I was feeling stale and I was no longer feeling challenged. And I wanted to see if there was something that I was missing, if there was some aspect of what I do that I had not experienced before. So the schools that I had worked at before, I've worked at a range of schools. I've worked at top performing schools where you have amazing students who are doing amazing work. And then I've worked at low performing schools where you have amazing kids that have struggles.
Right.
And do not perform as well academically. So that presented other struggles for the campus. And so I knew that there was something I had not experienced. There was something I was missing. And I felt like I needed to get it by removing myself from my current setting and trying to see what was available in another setting. And I've always loved to travel since I was a little girl. Our parents, my father was a pastor. And so every year we would go to a different convention somewhere in a different city when I was little. So I always loved to travel. And I have a son. And at the time, honestly, for me, the things that were beginning to happen in the United States, as it related to African American males, just was very disheartening. And I wanted to create a situation for him as well that would provide him with a different trajectory. I wanted to give him the opportunity to see things from a different light and to open up different opportunities for him.
Right.
And so with both of those things combined, I made the decision to look for a position abroad. And I got an interview, and the first interview didn't go so well. And I was just like, oh, well, if it doesn't work out, no big deal. Still got a job here. Love what I do. No big deal. And then the second interview came up, and it was where I am now in Xiamen, China, which is in the Fujian province.
Okay. Just
southeast China, north of Hong Kong, and actually the neighbor to Taiwan. And it was kind of like, when I got the job, I was like, oh my God, okay, so we're going to China.
Just got real.
But it got really real. We closing down bank accounts and getting out of leases and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I'm leaving. However, just that was what prompted me to decide to make the move here. Was I just wanted to give him a different trajectory, and I felt like I needed a fresh start. I needed to do something a little different in the same context, but in a different place.
Oh, really cool. How's your son adjusted to living in China?
He's actually adjusted quite well. And so when we got here, he was in the 7th grade. And so, the developmental struggles that go along with being, going into being a teenager.
Right.
So we were experiencing that coupled with the homesickness, but the excitement of being somewhere new because he likes to travel as well.
Okay.
It was a bit of a struggle at first, but once we got into a groove and he began to really make friends, which wasn't difficult, but it was a process just because of the majority of our students are Chinese speakers and English speakers. So, lunchtime, they go into mother tongue during lunchtime. They're speaking Chinese, and he's sitting there like, okay. So, just making friends that were willing to use their English at lunch. And it was simple things like that kind of started making the difference.
Yeah.
And so this year he's 14, he's in grade 9. And, his Chinese is a whole lot better, so he can actually understand us and have a conversation. And he has lots of English speaking friends as well. So that has totally made a difference. So he likes it, and he likes to travel. So it it gives us the opportunity to travel a whole lot more being here. He's team stay in China right now.
All right. That's awesome. Certainly broaden his horizon and be able to speak at least some Chinese. That's going to be a nice asset to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know any brothers that speak Chinese.
You know what? The crazy thing is where we live, there are a lot of expatriates that live here. So people from other countries, a lot that live here. And there's a nice little group of African Americans. And there are lots of brothers that speak. And I had no idea. I had no idea until I got here. And I was like, oh, wow. And I can actually see how much of a plus that has been for them, because most of them are here working as either teachers, or they work in technology, or they do business. Right. They have their own businesses and they work here. Exactly. And it is such an asset to be able to speak another language. And of course, being in the U.S., I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, he's getting another language at school. But then when you think about what languages are more predominant when it comes to business and technology and things of that nature, it's going to be Chinese. It's going to be Mandarin. Right. It's really been an amazing experience just because I see the opportunities it has afforded lots of people just being able to speak another language and having the ability to go and live somewhere where that language predominantly spoken. It allows them to do way more business.
It'll be a major competitive advantage.
Yeah, I hope so.
Certainly. I had the opportunity. I was stationed in Germany.
Oh, wow.
I was 19, so that was a great experience. And there's a lot of, expatriates living over there that spoke German fluently. So, I should have known.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's where I'm trying to go for spring break. So we need to chat after this.
Yeah, I love Europe. Germany is really nice.
Really?
Cool. All right. So let's go back to, now you say you're a school counselor. So what all does your role include?
So my position as a school counselor is to basically facilitate kids' ability to be socially and emotionally well.
Okay.
We thrive off of what's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And when you look at those basic needs, a lot of that has to do with how you feel about yourself. And so, lots of research has been done on kids feeling good about themselves, their self-esteem, their emotional well-being being tied to their academic ability and academic well-being. Right. And so my job is basically to facilitate that in order to ensure that kids are able to perform well in school. If those lower needs are met, then school becomes, a piece of cake. Right. And so my job is to, I run individual and group sessions. I do lots of working with kids who have emotional disorders, students who have behavior disorders, even sometimes when it is affecting their academics, trying to figure out what's the root of the problem so that we can kind of help the kids see some success. And if not, then figure out how to work with the parent to ensure that they get the correct assessment so that we can figure out how to assist them.
Oh, awesome. What do you find most rewarding about your career?
You know what? I feel like the most rewarding thing is my relationship with the kids. Just, having been a child, of course, just understanding how important it is for kids to have someone that they have a connection with in their daily school experience. Okay. And I try to be there for my kids. I think it's just really important. I'm big on relationships. That's like one of my biggest pieces. That's one thing that I love to encourage and work on. And I talk to the kids about it. I talk to the teachers about it. I talk to parents about it, just because I feel like relationships are huge. And so that's one of the most rewarding parts, I guess, of my job is having the relationship with kids and being that person that they feel comfortable when they have have an issue or a problem coming to talk to me or seeking me out to find resources that'll help them solve their problems.
That's great. And like you say, once they get those lower needs met, those emotional needs, and they can really excel the higher levels,
Absolutely.
get to contribute to that process. That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
What are the educational requirements to become a school counselor?
You need a master's degree in counseling and a counseling certification.
Okay.
And so I started as a high school English teacher. I got my bachelor's in language arts education from Tuskegee University in 2001.
All right.
And then I went on later to get my master's degree from Texas A&M University Commerce in Texas in counseling with a focus on children and adolescents. And so just a counseling certification and a counseling master's and experience, and they provide that within the degree setting.
Okay.
Just experience in working with children in that setting and providing intervention for them.
That's great. So far since I've started the podcast, I've interviewed, you'll be the third counselor that I've interviewed. So as far as professions, it seemed like, because the criteria for me to interview someone, they have to love what they do. But as far as profession, counselors are winning.
We're winning, counselors. We run.
A really rewarding, fulfilling career field.
It really is. It just provides a different relationship with the kids. I realized as a teacher that I was basically doing a lot of counseling, because when the kids are in your classroom, I was a high school English teacher, so I had kids in grades 9, 10, 11, and 12.
Okay.
And what you realize is that the kids seek out who they can trust, especially at that age, to look for resources, to have conversation with. They trust you. They want to talk to you. And I realized that, and I was talking to a mentor of mine, and she was like, hey, and she was a school counselor, and she was basically telling me how rewarding she found her job and how she was in the same position. She was a teacher, and she found herself having these conversations with kids, and she wanted to find a way to be able to do that without having to be worried about teaching actual content of that nature. And I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And so after my first teaching position, which was in Annapolis, Maryland at Annapolis Senior High School, I left there and I moved to Dallas. And when I moved to Dallas, I started my master's degree while I was working for Mesquite Independent Schools. And the rest is kind of like, oh, wow, I've been doing this for a while now.
Wow, that is cool. And it goes to show as far as the impact that a mentor can have on you in terms of exposing you to something that you wasn't aware of. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, absolutely.
So the famous Tuskegee University, what was their experience like there?
Oh, the pride of the Swift growing South. So it's funny, honestly. Tuskegee, the what they call the Tuskegee experience, it actually changed my life.
Okay, it
really did. I had no idea. The first time I went there, I was in the 8th grade, I think. And there is, where we're from, there's a gentleman named Colonel Arthur Graves, and he owns a funeral home. So he and another lady, which was actually my math teacher and soror, Georgia Jackson, they would every year take a trip to Tuskegee. She went to Spelman. He went to Tuskegee.
Okay.
And they would take a group of students from our area to Tuskegee on a trip. And so I went and I was like, oh, this place is amazing. I like it. I'm going to go to school here. And it's crazy because when I applied to colleges, I applied to 5 or 6 different schools. And the only one I cared about was Tuskegee.
Right.
So that experience really changed my life. I have an amazing group of friends. My friends that I went to college with, we have a lifelong love for each other and friends. They actually came to visit me last year here in China. They came for my 40th birthday. I know. How cool is that?
That is awesome. They must really love you.
I know. Yeah, of course they love me. But yeah, we had an amazing time, but it was an experience. Just that level of camaraderie in academia is amazing because, when you're getting your bachelor's degree, unless you come from a super academic family, you don't know what's going on. You really just in school.
Right.
You're going to these parties. You enjoying yourself. You enjoying life. Exactly. But Tuskegee was the place that kind of gave me the idea of it was a conversation of when you go to graduate school, not if you go.
Okay.
Which made a huge difference for me because I think in all, respect of anything else, the biggest thing that I got there was just becoming a lifelong learner. Like it just does not stop, even into retirement or once you're done doing what you want to do career-wise, you're still a learner. And in being a learner, you don't hoard what you learn. It's about service. So you take your knowledge and you give it to other people. It's that mindset of abundance and knowing that there is enough for me to be able to share what I know because that's the only way other people are going to, it's like a domino effect. If I share what I learned, then you're supposed to take it and you share what I've taught you. And then it just keeps going and people are learning and people are thriving and people are getting and they're understanding and building relationships. Just being there gave me all of that. So now it's funny when I go somewhere, my brother is always laughing. He's like, wherever you go, you always know somebody. I absolutely do. Because if I know that someone from Tuskegee lives there, even if we weren't at Tuskegee at the same time, just knowing that they're there, we connect and it's like we've known each other for 20 years. So that was an amazing place. Those grounds are blessed, I will say, because that was an amazing experience and I could not have made a better choice in starting my post-secondary education. And I couldn't have made a better choice.
Yeah, that's incredible. And as you were describing, you essentially pay it forward and it just continues that cycle. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So are you going to encourage your son to go to HBCU?
That's funny that you asked. So last summer, there was they had a summer camp available for students who were interested in learning coding and how you can code to develop drones and things like that. And he was really interested in going. And prior to that, since he was tiny little bitty, he was going to Morehouse. That was in the books for him. He had it on his mind. We went to Tuskegee last year to take him to this week-long camp. And at the end of the week, he looked at me and he was like, Mom, I think I want to go to Tuskegee.
Oh, yeah.
And, being an alum, I was like, what?
So proud.
Like, of course, I would have been thoroughly excited for him to go to Morehouse, no doubt. But you want to go to Mama's alma mater? I was just taken aback. And so since he's since he was little, we've always had the conversation about the importance of some sort of post-secondary training. I'm not the person that tells people, oh, you need to go to a 4-year college.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because that's not everybody's path. That's not what everybody needs to do. However, I am a firm believer that in order to be successful and to thrive and to be a productive person, you do need some sort of training in order to make yourself marketable.
Right.
To be able to tell people that I can do this job because I've had this training. And so I've never been one to like, you got to go to college. But of course, I've always hoped that he would decide he wanted to go. And when he told me he wanted to go to Tuskegee last year, yeah, I was turning cartwheels. Thoroughly excited.
That is incredible. So with your experiences being a counselor, I guess what advice can you give parents in terms of, like you say, you wasn't really pressuring him, you kind of let him make that decision himself.
Right.
So yeah, like what kind of advice can you give parents who's kind of trying not to pressure their kids? But
the thing that I think parents have to realize, and it's a struggle for me as well, so I won't lie like, I got it all together. But the thing that has been, that I think a lot of parents forget is we provide our children with lots of tools. We take their little tool bag and we give them tools. We give them love. We give them understanding. We give them knowledge. We give them like information on who they are as a person, family history. And we give them all of these tools. And we hope that these tools turn into greatness. As a parent, the best thing you can do is give them the tool bag and let them determine what those tools turn into.
Yeah.
I think we a lot of times take it upon ourselves to kind of course, you're going to guide, you're going to steer, you're going to provide opportunity, but telling them what they need to do as opposed to letting them develop into the person that they want to be and doing what they want to do. Of course, providing them with the opportunities. One thing I've always said is that I feel like as a parent, I've given some amazing opportunities to see some amazing things and experience and to have some amazing experiences. And he's going to take all of that and become whoever he wants to be. And there's nothing I can do about that, because even in his old age, even if he's done everything I've wanted him to do his entire life, at some point it's going to kick in that I'm an individual and I want to do what's going to make me happy. And so I think if we begin to foster that early on, allow them to have some successes, and when they have failures, talk them through it. Okay. Have that conversation about what was that like? What did that feel like to experience that failure? And what can you do next time in order to maybe have a different experience? And how does that work? Preparing our kids, being okay when they don't do well, and having the conversation with them about what our next steps. I think that's the part that we sometimes miss out on as parents. We get upset when they don't do well and we just leave it there. Like, you didn't do well. Oh my gosh. Well, hope you do better next time, and leave it there. No, it's about goal setting. It's about sitting down and saying, so what are you going to do differently?
Yeah.
And that's a conversation I have a lot with my son, when he does or has situations that don't quite work out. So what are we going to do differently next time? We need to actually sit down, talk about it, visualize it. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it, what is it that you need to do differently in order to maybe have a different outcome the next time? Mm-hmm. And kind of go from there. So as a parent, that would be my biggest suggestion, is just to make sure that you provide the experiences, you provide the opportunities, and you let them kind of figure out what to do with them, because it's their life. It's theirs. I don't ever want my child to be unhappy because of a decision I made for him. Mm-hmm. Never. I want him to always be okay with, well, this is a decision that his name is Peyton. This is a decision that Peyton has made, and this is a decision that, I have to deal with. and being okay with it. So.
Great advice. Let's find out some more about China. For starters, what were some of, I guess, the culture shocks that you experienced when you first got there?
Oh, wow. That's a lot. I don't know if your podcast got enough time for that. No, listen, I'll just No, really, the reality is the first thing was everything I learned as a student in school about living in or about China as a communist country is not what I see.
Okay.
I see a system that is a paradox mirror of ours because they don't have certain freedoms, because they don't have certain things that we consider to be important. It hasn't deterred them from having success. It hasn't deterred them from having the ability to do certain things and to thrive. There's a lot of business happening here. There's a lot of money and commerce transferring in China. And so with that being said, it's not what I expected. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is because it's an ethnically homogenous country. You don't really you have pockets of expatriates, but for the most part, everyone is Asian.
Okay.
Everyone is Chinese. When I first got here, it was the staring, people wanting to take pictures,
celebrity,
people offering. Right. And it was a weird sort of celebrity because what I realized was that people are genuinely interested in our skin. They're genuinely interested in our hair. They're genuinely interested when they hear me speak and they realize that I'm American and I'm not African.
Okay.
It's just been a very interesting situation in that respect because it took some getting used to. In the United States, you see someone of a different, ethnicity or a different, race, you just see them because you're used to it. That's not the case here. And so I just had to really get used to it. I had to get used to feeling like sometimes I do feel like I'm the ambassador for the race with some relationships that I have because people have never worked with, have never been around a Black American. And so it's been an interesting situation in that respect. So those two things I would say would be the most culturally shocking things is, again, just not what I expected. I expected to get here and everybody's like wearing those hats that look like the little triangles with the circle, the cylinder. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was expecting that, and them on the little bikes, ringing their little bell, telling you to get out of the way. Totally not that. I have, Bentleys. I've seen more luxury cars here than I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
Never seen so many luxury cars. And again, a lot of business taking place. And because I live in what's considered a port city, there's a lot of import and export coming into my city because I live right next to Taiwan. So the water is right here. You just see a lot of business taking place here. Not what I expected.
That's great. So I'm sure you're doing a great job representing, being our ambassador over there.
Trying, child. I'm trying. But, I think the biggest thing is, I think I said it earlier, was just relationships. Like, just having those relationships with people so they can see that I'm just like you. I want the same things you want in life.
Right.
I like the same things you like in life. I enjoy doing we have a lot in common. A lot of the differences that we have may be cultural or may be, related to geographic, just distance and where I'm from or where you're from. But for the most part, as human beings, we want the same things. We want to be happy.
Yep.
We want to be productive. We want our children to be happy.
Want to be
so
loved.
we want the same things. We just look different. Yeah, we want love. We want the same things. We just look different. That's it.
Different packaging. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Different packaging.
But that highlights the reason why we have to not just believe everything we see or hear, especially about this period, but yeah, with other countries, because like I say, you went there, you had a certain idea of what China was like, but now you see firsthand that it wasn't what you expected.
Totally not. And that's another, nugget that I try to take with me is, and I noticed it in the younger Chinese people. They are really seeking out opportunities in order to find out more about the world, because China has been sort of closed off from the world. Yes, the people are allowed to, travel and go where they want to go. And however, there's a different mindset here. There's a very different mindset as it relates to how to view the world. They give you a lens that they want you to view the world out of, whereas Americans see it how you want to see it or not. And so I noticed that a lot of the younger Chinese people, they are really intent on learning more about the world and making sure that the country that they are going to be leading later is a contender in, it's already a contender in a lot of areas, but they're making sure that their global presence is known. And, that to me speaks volumes about you always, to me, it's totally and completely important to always remember that the world is much bigger than where you're from.
Yep.
And that there is a whole big old world out there to see. And not saying that you got to go out and live in it, but experience it just so that you'll know or you'll have a greater understanding for just human kindness and just how we're supposed to treat each other, and what the human experience is about is just having the wherewithal to say, hey, we're different, but I'm still going to treat you the way that I would want you to treat me. It's because we just, we're human. That's it.
Yeah, like I said, that's what it boils down to, really. As far as the majority of the students at the school you work at, are most of them Asian or Chinese?
We do have a huge Asian population of students. So our students come from, majority are Taiwanese. So in China, you cannot attend a Chinese public school unless you are Chinese.
Okay.
In China, you cannot attend an international school if you are Chinese. So a lot of our students cannot attend our school. Well, not a lot of our students, but a lot of Chinese students can't attend our school. However, Taiwanese, Korean, they can be from Hong Kong, because it's Hong Kong, though it is one system, two governments. I think that's the way it's considered.
Okay.
So like Hong Kong has its own currency, it has its own system and how it works, though it is still considered a part of the People's Republic of China. Something of that. It's really crazy. It's really weird.
Sounds a little complicated.
Yeah, it's very complicated because it's like we're married, but we don't live in the same house.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. Right. That's the only analogy I can think of. We married, but we don't live in the same house.
Gotcha.
And we still got different last names. So it's really crazy. But our kids, so a lot of our kids come from Korea, Japan, and a lot of them are at our school, again, because they are not Chinese and they can't attend the Chinese public schools.
Okay.
And so their parents may work for a company, and their company may pay for them to attend our school, or their parents may have business here and they're here long term, and this is the educational alternative for their children.
Gotcha. Okay. So have you been to the Great Wall of China yet?
You know what? I've been here 2 years. And I still have not been to the Great Wall. If you look at the pictures of the Great Wall of China online, you know what? Last week I was actually in a city that had a piece of the wall there.
Okay.
But we didn't actually go visit. But the crazy thing is because there are so many people in this country, when you travel during a holiday, it's mad crowded.
I can imagine.
So go back to what we said earlier. Tennille does not particularly like crowds. Right. And so I've been afraid to go during a time, and that's usually the time that I have to go. But I said that this year we were going to take a weekend, maybe take a Friday off, and my son and I were going to try and go and visit the wall, just because, you know, we're trying to check off these wonders of the world, and we've seen one, maybe two so far.
Okay.
And so we're trying to take them off of our bucket list.
Gotcha.
And so this year may be the year that Tennille goes to finally see the wall this school year. At some point, I'm going to go.
All right. Gotcha. So what would you say to someone who is listening and who has aspirations of working in an international school, who's American?
I would give them the advice of, I've always had the attitude of just doing things. Not like I don't think them through, but if there's something that I want to do, I seek out the opportunity and I just do it. I'm a risk taker like that. So of my mother's children, I am the one that I probably scares her the most just because I do pretty much whatever it is that I want to do. And so if somebody is thinking of teaching on the international level, I would say find a place that suits your taste. Go somewhere that suits your what it is you want to learn, what you want to see, and make it happen. There are plenty of positions teaching internationally. And what I've learned is that a lot of countries have now made it to where if you're going to be, let's say you want to go to a country and you want to teach English. A lot of countries, they're looking for English teachers or ESL teachers, English as a second language teachers.
Right.
We have an advantage as Americans because we are first English language speakers.
Right.
And so it's much easier for us to find jobs than it is someone from, say, Sierra Leone or from France, or it's easier for us because we're first English language speakers.
Right.
And so I would say just do it, make it happen, look at the map, do a little research, figure out where you want to be, maybe go visit. Like I had never been to China to even visit. So when I landed here, it was my first time in China, and we got off the plane and we were on the bus on the way to the hotel. And I looked and I saw all of these Chinese characters and bright lights because it was like 1:00 in the morning. And I looked at my son and I said, I cannot believe this. I have just moved to China. What is wrong with me? I lost my mind. But yeah, just figuring out if that's something you're interested in doing, do the research, figure out how to make it happen. Figure out where you want to be, what kind of school you want to be at, because there is an opportunity to work at universities, to work at Chinese private schools for U.S. citizens, international schools, English centers, lots of opportunity here, lots of opportunity. It's endless. You can land and find a job. I tell a lot of people that if you get here, you can find a job. It's not a big deal.
That's great. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people don't think about looking for a job in China, but that opportunity is there.
It's absolutely here. And it's here. The opportunity is here, and it's honestly life-changing. But you have to be open-minded. That's the thing that I think is difficult for some people, is just recognizing you're not at home. The luxuries or the things that we're used to at home, you're not going to have here.
Right.
Most things are the same, honestly, for the most part. things are very similar, the same. But there are going to be some things that you may have to look for a particular lotion that you need, or like my son and I, we bring a lot of things back with us, like hygiene products and things that we know that we like those brands, so we bring them back with us. But for the most part, hey, it's what you need is here, and it's just a learning process, and just being open-minded to the food, the people, the smells, the traffic, the crowdedness, or not. Because I have friends that live in areas that aren't so crowded, that aren't so busy, that aren't so, populated. And so just being open-minded and being okay with the differences.
Yeah, definitely. It's part of the experience. You got to take it all in.
Absolutely.
Well, Tennille, you've been great. You've given us a lot of good insight as far as living in China, as far as working in an international school. We really appreciate it.
Awesome.
As far as if anyone wanted to get in contact with you, how could they reach you?
They can reach me. So on Facebook, I'm Tennille Brownrigg. So right now I'm taking a little break from Facebook. So probably won't be back on Facebook until December. But just Tennille Brownrigg, Tennille, last name Brownrigg, Brownrigg.
Okay.
On Instagram. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but this is my Instagram name. And I keep saying I'm going to change it to something a little more professional, but I like this because this is one of my favorite movies. So my name on Instagram is All My Life I Had to, the number 2, fight. All my life I had to fight.
I like it.
And, right. And so my email address is Tennille, Tennille, 1977 @yahoo.com. Feel free to reach out, and
awesome.
Super available for the people. Any questions?
Again, we appreciate you getting up at 5 a.m. time in China. Talk with us. We'll have to have you back on when you decide the next country you're going to go to.
Absolutely. That would be super cool because we're actually trying to decide where are we going next.
Great. Thank you very much. That was a fun interview with Tennille Brown, school counselor, currently working in China. That is so cool. I hope that hearing Tennille's story inspires some of you all to consider working abroad or just doing anything that you normally wouldn't do. Step outside your comfort zone, be adventurous. That's when you really experience life and get to live it to the fullest. So we really appreciate Tennille sharing her stories with us. And most of all, I love the advice she gave parents regarding to helping their kids, just lead them in the right direction, providing them with the tools, but allowing them to think as individuals and decide what's the best path for their career and their life. I love that. So parents certainly take heed. You can't live your kid's life for them. You can just provide them with those tools and resources and see what they do with them. You may be surprised. That's great. Well, thank you all for listening. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, and be sure to reach out to Tennille and let her know what resonated with you about this interview. And if you have any questions about working abroad, I'm sure she'll be happy to give you some advice. Well, I'll be back next week with another interview from our guest mentors.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Mentor Select podcast, helping you identify and follow your passions. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit mentorselect.com and Mentor Select on social media. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review. We'll catch you next time.